All right, guys, we got quite the challenge ahead of us in this video. Well, let me tell you. All right, guys, I inherited this project from Logger Wade. If you watch his channel, I guess it was about a year and a half ago. He's got some videos on this. This was his welder. He took this thing and tore it down. I guess it was getting hot. He thought the head was bad on it. Got it tore down, ran out of time. Then he called me and he needed some shop space because they needed to get tiny in there. They had to build that dump truck for the Axeman project. So he's like, hey, if you want this thing, come get it. So now it's been sitting in my shop for over a year. I haven't had time to do anything with it. I got it, I guess I got it in the spring and it's just been crazy. It's been busy. But last fall, I did go and have the head checked. I thought I had some video of that. I can't find it. I don't know what I did with it, but we magnafluxed the head and everything turned out pretty good on it. No major issues. We checked the block. We checked the head for being warped. They were all good. We did find a spot on the head gasket that we think was bad. So here's the deal. Wade tore this thing apart a year and a half ago. I ordered a head gasket. We're going to try to put it back together, at least get it running. I think the head gasket set I got off eBay was like $327. I figured it's at least worth spending $300 on, or $327 if you want to be exact. Put it back together, see if it runs, see if it's worth keeping, and go from there. I don't want to put too much money and time into it, but it's a Miller Big 40 welder, and if I can get it running for $300, I think it's worth it. It's worth a try. So, anyways, we got engine on a stand. We got a box full of parts. We got random parts laying in random places. We got 4 parts up there in the corner. Yeah, let's see if we can get the puzzle together, I guess. All right, guys, if anybody's wondering, this is a Continental TMD 27. I'm pretty sure the TM is the gas models, the TMD or the diesel models. This thing's got about 7,000 hours on it. Now keep in mind, everything I'm doing, I'm not trying to get in there 7,000 hours out of this thing. I'm just trying to get a welder running for $300 that I can use occasionally when I need it. So this thing's been sitting for a while and it's got a lot of hours on it. May not be a necessary step. I got the hone on the drill here. I'm gonna go through and just kind of clean up the top of these boards a little bit. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna hurt anything doing that. I'm not trying to resize it or anything goofy like that. Just trying to take that carpet off the top, clean it up a little bit. It's got minimal surface rust where it's been sitting a little bit. Try to get some of that out there. Maybe try to get a few hash marks back so the rings work better. But step one, clean out cylinder holes. All right, guys, this is where we're at. Cylinder is actually cleaned up better than I thought they were going to. The old deck didn't clean up too bad. I got the head cleaned up over here. Keep in mind, guys, I'm not trying to build a long service life engine here. I'm trying to build a dependable engine I can use occasionally. This thing may get, well, it depends on what I tear up, but it may get anywhere from $5 to $100 on it a year. Just be handy to have if I can get it running cheap. So that's kind of the goal here. If I was going to use this thing 30, 40 hours a week, I'd be going about this completely different. So anyways, got that all ready to go. One thing I did do is while I had the head off of it, I can see the cylinder position. I went ahead and marked them on here just so I got my own marks and they're easy. That'll come in later, come in handy later when I go to run valves. Keep me from searching because I can't get the actual timing marks are on the flywheel and it's not on there, and it cannot be on there on this engine stand that Wade built. So I just marked it up here on the dampener. Should work good. I did take some copper spray, head gasket spray, and sprayed that head gaskets, this stuff here. There is a few imperfections in it, just trying to hedge my bet to make sure it'll work. One thing I did notice whenever I test fit this head gasket is it ends up with just little bitty small holes right here. So if you've got anything down in there, you can't get it out later. So you may want to double check and make sure that's all good and clean, which it is. So anyways, we're gonna set this head on here. I don't have a book on this, but the head gasket kit come with all the torque specifications, come with the torque sequence. One's right there, 2 kind of circle work your way out type deal. And then they want you to do it in 3 steps. And they got a hot torque sequence. I don't understand that, but I understand why they do it. But it's really annoying. He wants to take a valve cover off and tear the whole engine back down to torque head bolts later. That's an engineer gripe. It has nothing to do with our conversation. Let's put a head on. All right, guys, we got the head on there. That went pretty smooth. It didn't have alignment dowels. And I tried to look in some books and some literatures. I'm not for sure. I guess that's part of the problem with me taking it apart. I don't know what was supposed to be there or not. But anyways, I was able to use the head bolts as alignments to get the head gasket on the right place. It's together. Again, I know I keep saying this, but it's not a long service life engine I'm trying to build here. It's a reliable engine I can use occasionally. So anyways, we got all on there, torqued down in sequence. I got the rockers on. One thing whenever you install these rockers, I think I maybe mentioned in the time lapse, you need to make sure that socket's in that little ball right there. That's pretty crucial. But next thing on the list we need to do is valve adjustments. I was able to go on the good old internet there and get that 14 and 18 thousandths. I got my feeler gauge out here, 14 and 18 thousandths. So there's 2 things we got to determine. One is, remember these marks we made up here earlier? That there says 1 and 4. I don't know if you can read my writing. So that means 1 and 4 are top dead center. Now one of them is going to be on the exhaust stroke or getting ready to start the exhaust stroke, and one of them is going to be top dead center compression. You can tell because see how this one's loose? So that's the one we want right there in that position. Now you got to know which one's intake and which one's exhaust. So you almost got to line up. You can look at this in the book too. I think it tells you, but you almost got to line up the runner. So this will be the exhaust and this will be your intake here, if that makes sense. I think that's right. Hope I didn't tell you guys wrong. Oh yeah, here's the intake here. So that's your intake manifold. See how it's lined up with this one? That's your exhaust manifold. See how it's lined up with that one? So it'd be exhaust, intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust, intake. Boom, right there is a better example. Intake manifold, exhaust manifold, lined up. You can double check that if you got a manifold off, make sure it goes to the right one. But I'll set you guys down here. We'll adjust a couple valves together and I'm anxious to get the valve cover on top of this because then it covers up all the holes and we ain't got to worry about old Dirt Perfect dropping something down the engine that's not supposed to be there. So let's adjust the valve. All right, guys, so that's our exhaust right there, 18 thousandths. Actually feels pretty good, so I'll get that slid in there by my screwdriver. You don't want it, you just want it to where it's got a little bit of drag on it. Well, that's my opinion anyways. Then once you get it where you want, you really need to hold that screw tight while you tighten it down. Yeah, I like the feel of that. So then we'll move over to the intake. That one's definitely loose. Bust the nut loose. Crank her down there. There a little bit more. These adjustments are going to change because the thickness of that head gasket is going to affect this gap right here, and then who knows when the last time these valves were adjusted, so they may be out of adjustment just from running it. So cylinder number one's done. So now we need to go around front. Find my socket here. Go around front, and I will turn this to where it says 3 and 4. Oh yeah, we got a little bit of compression. So there's 3. Oh, there's 2 and 3. So now one of these others will be ready to, all right, see that exhaust one's tight, so that means number 3 will be next, which is the firing order. So we'll do the exhaust first, 18. Oh, that is way out of adjustment. Not even close, boys and girls, not even close. Now from the factory, this thing's got timing marks on it. You don't have to do what I did on the front. That was just quick and easy because I had the engine apart. I can make a quick reference on that and go with it. There's, whoop, too tight, too tight. Oh yes, very nice. Now we'll do the intake. That one don't feel too bad, to be honest with you. All right, we'll repeat for the other 2. All right, guys, there it is. Valve cover's on. Everything went pretty good. I gotta love the old stuff. It's just so simple. If you don't know for sure which way it goes, just look at it twice. It'll probably tell you. It's so dang easy. I'm trying to get everything buttoned up to where I ain't got to worry about internal engine parts ending up something in the engine that's not supposed to be there. Wade, when he took this apart, he did a really good job and capped off all these fuel lines and all this stuff. I think the next thing I'm going to try to tackle is to get all the fuel lines, all the injector lines back on. I'm probably going to take the air hose, blow everything out, clean everything off real good, get that set up on there like so, however it goes, and then get all the return lines that go from injector to injector on there. That's what I'm thinking. Let's make her happen. Well, there's the fuel lines all on. That was actually pretty quick, easy, and painless. I ended up putting the caps back on these because I don't know for sure where they go until I get them actually on the, or get it back in the welder. Next thing we're gonna do is tackle the water. There's a water jacket that goes up here on top, and then the water pump bolts here on the front. Let me clean that up a little bit. The gasket kit I got come with new gaskets for the water jacket, but it did not come with a new gasket for the water pump. So I ended up making one out of some gasket material I had. It should do the trick just fine. I should have recorded this and I didn't, but I basically used the ball peen hammer tray. If you lay that up there and just kind of tap around the edge with the ball peen hammer, it'll trace that out for you. End up with a pretty nice little gasket. Works out pretty good. I'm not even sure why Wade pulled that off. I'm sure he had a reason. But anyways, we're gonna get that water jacket on. I'm gonna clean that up a little better, clean this up a little better, get that water jacket on, get the water pump on. And I think that's gonna be about as far as we're gonna go. We're gonna have to dig the welder out of the corner over there and probably set the engine down there. I cannot put the flywheel back on until I pull it off of here. And then the alternator, the starter, the rest of the linkages and the wiring is still on the unit over there. So let's get this water stuff done. Still got a lot of parts left, but it's getting smaller, but there's still a lot in there. So it's just hard following somebody else up because Wade did a good job of taking everything apart, keeping it clean and somewhat labeled, but that's all right. It is what it is. We're getting there. We're making progress. So let's get the water pump and the water jacket back on, and we'll get this thing headed towards the, headed back to its home. All right, guys, there's the engine pretty much built. I got it about as far as I can go until we put it back in the, put her back in the welder and see what we got. I guess I can put that back on right there. It's the breather hose. Well, maybe with one hand, maybe not. There we go. Give me a pair of pliers and do that. But I got to dig this old welder out of the corner over here. It's been sitting there for a good while. Got a lot of the parts rounded up on it. But let me get this thing out. There's the flywheel. Once we get it out of there, that's the next thing we need to go on. And I'm hoping we can find the bolts that bolt it to the, oh boy, it looks like fun, doesn't it? Whew, let the puzzle continue. Let me get that dug out of here, get over here, we can see it. We'll see what we got and see if we can get this engine set down in there. All right, guys, there it is, dug out of the corner where it's been in storage. Wade's done like I said, Wade's done a pretty good job. He's got all that stuff still connected and tied up. You come around here to the other side, he's got everything, everything labeled, ground, oil pressure. That's temp sender. There's our alternator. Yeah, I think we got a fighting chance. I think the biggest thing is I'm gonna have to go through the puzzle of box or bolts and figure out which bolts bolt this all back together. I think getting that bolted together is going to be our biggest fight, but hopefully it won't be too big a deal. We'll get it figured out. One piece at a time. That's how we're going to do her. All right, guys, here we go. Engine, meet welder. You two need to play nice. This looks like, I didn't take this thing apart, but it looks like something had come apart somewhat easy. But it's going to be a real pain in the butt to get back together. I did a couple things to hedge my bet. Let me show you. So I got the flywheel on here. I took a straight edge and went across these holes. I made me a mark down here. I did the same thing on these holes here. and made a mark right here. That way, all I got is this little bitty hole right here that I can't get into and I can't see. It's all got to be done by feel. I can't even hardly do it with the, yes, can I help you? Can't even do it with the motor out. To get those in there to bolt it all together, I just wanted some sort of little reference to, line that up. And then on the other side, they share a rear engine mount right here. So basically what I did, I put my porta potty in there. That way I can adjust the pitch of that to help line everything up. So, man, I hope this thing goes together. We're not talking about this in 2 or 3 days from now. So I'm gonna set you guys back here. Move that out of the way. Set you guys back here so you can watch, and we're gonna try to set her down in there. Let's see what happens. All right, guys, we're not even 2 seconds in. We already ran into problems. I didn't realize it until I went to put it back together, but this actually needs to be back into here. This is actually pulled out. If I had to guess what happened when they pulled that engine out of here, that fits inside a groove on there, and it was probably seized together, so this armature probably come with it. I'm glad I didn't go and force it and try to get it in there. I pulled the cover off the back here. I don't know if you guys can see, but that big bearing back in there is supposed to be in this hole, and that thing you see hanging right there that's blocking it is the actual brush. That's actually a pretty delicate piece. So I'm glad I quit when I did. I looked it over. I think what I'm gonna do for now is I'm just gonna pull this brush holder off and pull them brushes up out of the way so we don't have to worry about damaging them. And then hopefully we can work that back here where it belongs and get it in there. Always something. This is one of those situations where you're kind of glad you didn't grab the bigger hammer, because it would have caused bigger problems. All right, guys, round two. Here's the bank of brushes. I have no idea how I'm gonna get that back in there, but there they are. Got them out of there. They're not damaged. I got the bearing back in the hole, and as you can see up here, now that plate is recessed in there the way it's supposed to be. I'm gonna rotate that line around so I can see it over there. And we're gonna try this again. All right, guys, we got her all down in there. That wasn't too horrible for being a one-man job. This is the part I'm actually worried about. You can see, I can't even get in here to video. I don't know how I'm gonna get in here to work. Move that up out of the way. There's one paint mark there, another paint mark down there, and I gotta get way up in there to get these bolts in. I got a feeling that's gonna be quite fun. I don't know, I may have to see if I can get that out of the way. Let me piddle on this here a little bit and see what I come up with. All right, guys, after an hour of laying here on the floor, I don't know if you can see in there, bunch of finger cramps, bunch of cussing. We have finally got those stupid bolts in there. I don't know who designed that, but goodness gracious, there's got to be a better way to do that. It's getting late. That's probably where I'm going to call it quits after tonight. I need to do a little bit of research before I go any farther. I want to get these brushes back in there and make sure I can do that. There's got to be some tricks to that. I'll may turn to the old YouTubes and see if I can figure something out. But that's going to be it for tonight. I'll bring you back. I'm not sure what I got going tomorrow, but next time I work on it, I'll make sure you guys are along. But that's pretty good progress for a Sunday afternoon. Catch you guys tomorrow. All right, guys, it's the next morning. I'm trying to wake up. I got a few hours to work on this thing. I'm waiting on a few phone calls back to see which direction I want to go. But last night I left you. I wasn't for sure what I was going to do with these brushes. And I ended up, I didn't video any of this. I got a picture of it. I ended up getting it in there pretty damn easy. And two things I did. One, I clipped the corner of that bracket just about 1/4 of an inch, which made it slide past this really easy. And as far as the brushes themselves, I just took a zip tie and put around them, held them in, slid them in there, and bolted them down. Now these, I'm trying to hold this flashlight at the same time, these black ones are slotted, so this thing will slide this way. And I don't know if you can see down there, but you need to make sure them brushes line up in the center. I wish I could get that light to stay. And brushes line up in the center of them slip rings or whatever they call them there. There is one little minor adjustment, but that went like way easier than I thought. I didn't record it because I didn't think it was gonna work. And I was gonna have to go to plan B, but it did end up working. So I think my first thing I'm gonna tackle today is try to figure out this starter and all this wiring here. Wade did a really good job of taking most stuff apart and labeling it, but I don't have a clue what's going on here. So we're gonna try to de-scramble that puzzle and see what we got. All right, guys, I got the starter bolted in there. That was pretty painless. This is where not taking this thing apart myself is kind of makes it a little more difficult. But this is the throttle control, and I'm guessing from the looks of that right there that this bolts up there somewhere. I'm gonna get that bolted on there. And I think I found, I already lost it, I think. Nope, I put it in the end of it. I found this piece, which slides an end to there, which hooks to there, I believe. And that's what ramps your throttle up and stuff. So I'm gonna get that bolted on there, see what we got. And then the next one's gonna be this fuel system. I think I know which way these fuel lines are supposed to go, but I am not confident in that yet. So I need to do a little more checking on that and see what we got. So let me get this throttle on there real quick and then we'll move on to fuel lines. All right, guys, I got my marching orders, so I'm gonna have to leave here in a little bit, but I've been kind of methodically picking through this, trying to think like Wade, which is scary, and get this thing back together. So on the other side, he's got everything labeled real well. On this side, he had nothing labeled. So let me get started with the fuel system. I figured out that the fuel pump actually mounts way back here on the back of the head. This is the supply line that comes around. It feeds the rotor of the pump there. And then you got returns here. The one return comes off the injector and goes down. That catches that. This catches the return coming out of the pump, and that goes back up to the tank. And then I found an electrical plug right here that looked like it accepted the fuel pump, so we went with that. Next was the electrical. First was the glow plugs. He had all the jumper wires on, but this wire was missing. I think I found it in the box, but it's pretty frayed and pretty nasty. I can only assume it goes up here to the glow plug relay. So I made a new red wire that comes off that post and goes down to there. On the starter, everything was still connected except this wire here had the terminal broke off of it. There's the end of it broke off. So I just put that on. This wire goes on that post that hots up everything on the back, and the battery cable, which I am missing, goes on there as well. So that's that. These two wires here, I'm assuming they went up here to the shutdown solenoid on the pump. It kind of makes sense. It's the only other thing I got left. There's not a lot of electrical on this thing, so you're kind of limited on your options of where stuff can go. But I couldn't really find, ironically, I couldn't really find anything good on the internet that described this. So there it is. If that helps somebody out, hopefully it's all right. They may be redoing it after we try to start it. But that's where I'm gonna have to quit at. I need to find the oil plug too. I'm gonna take that back out to Wade and maybe scrounge around out there a little bit, see if I can find something in the shop and find any extra parts, and then we'll come back. I do realize that I've probably made one little procedurally screw up over here on the other side. I laid the alternator back here out of the way, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to fit through that hole, so I'm going to have to take all the wiring off the back of it, get it through the hole, and then get it on over there. But that won't be too big a deal. But anyways, that's the quick little update. I got to run some errands, go look at a few jobs, pay a few bills, talk to a few people, shake a few hands. And I get back to shop here this evening. We'll piddle on this some more, see if we can get her fired up. But that's where she's at now. She's getting closer. All right, guys, just got back to town, picked me up some goodies, got some battery cables. I searched high and low at Wade's, couldn't find anything. That's an oil plug, thermostat, oil filter, oil antifreeze out there in the cabinet. So I think the next thing I'm gonna do is get the alternator, the belt, the fan, assembly all on. That way we can set the radiator in there. I think once the radiator's in there and plumbed up and the alternator's on, put a battery on it and cross our fingers and see what happens. So let's see if we can get this alternator fished around here. All right, guys, there she is. That was actually pretty simple. Wade had all this marked oil pressure. This was marked temperature. Those are the two wires I took off. This wasn't marked, but it's the only place it could possibly plug in. If I had to guess, that's probably the engine speed sensor, maybe? I don't know, maybe not. Not sure what that is. So anyways, but the next thing we need to tackle is getting the radiator set and getting all that plumbed up. So I'm gonna go get it, bring it over here. We'll set it in there and see what we got. I guess real quick before I go and get the radiator, I'll show you guys here. Gonna put the new thermostat in. It's nothing real too tricky. I can't even speak. Nothing too tricky about that. Just gotta make sure that side is towards the engine. All right, guys, we got the radiator in there. I don't think this is the radiator hose I have. I think that's something Wade's figured out over the years and made work. That's the upper radiator hose. I do think the lower radiator hose is correct. It goes here. I'm gonna get those get those in place. Then I think we're ready for some water and oil, a battery. Whoops, cross the fingers and hope she works. What do you think, Maggie? So it's got a brand new filter on it. All right, guys, it's getting close to the moment of truth. You see I got oil in it, got antifreeze in it. I end up getting a donor battery out of a lawnmower just to see if we can get her cranked. So everything's checking out now. What I'm gonna do, I did check and make sure I got power to the shutdown solenoid. I do make sure the fuel pump's running. Had to tap on it a few times, but she came back to life. So I've got all these injector lines loose. So basically what I'm gonna do is we're just gonna spin that engine over until we start seeing fuel coming out of here, and then we'll tighten those all down, cross our fingers, and see what happens. All right, guys, this is obviously not the result we were hoping for, but here's where we're at. This thing's been sitting for a while. It's got a lot of hours on it, and I cannot get this injection pump to prime no matter what I try. I've checked the input screen filter, checked the vane pump, I've checked the check valves. I've tore into a few of these. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Here's the long short of it. This thing's got a lot of hours on it. It's flat wore out. If I knew it still worked, it would serve my purposes, I wouldn't mind throwing there a couple $100 at it. I got all this effort into it now. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think on this one. If you guys got any tricks, if you watch this before I do anything about these injection pumps, I mean, they're simple little pumps. There's not a whole lot going on. I've checked the shutdown solenoid, I've checked the vane pump, I've checked all the check valves, I've checked the screens. I got a feeling the metering valve with the plungers in there on the rotor may be stuck for some moisture or something. I just don't know. I do know that I've got a couple other problems. My throttle solenoid I know is not good. And the water pump's got a small leak on. It's not the gasket I made, but it's the plate on the back, which as long as those screws come out there, I think that'd be a pretty easy fix. So I'm running out of time. The whole purpose of getting this project done was to make room in the shop to get other projects in, including the Mack truck and the 120. Can you tell I'm dejected? I'm really bummed out. I was really hoping to see smoke and see this thing run, but you win some, you lose some. I'm thinking that I am ornery and persistent enough that we'll probably be back on this project at some point, because it's just made me mad at this point. But anyways, that's where we're at, guys. I am sorry it is not a different result. I truly apologize. It's not my fault. It's that thing's fault. Blame it on that right there. It's all your fault, Standardine, whatever you are. DB2429 pump. That's what we're gonna go with. So anyways, guys, that's it. We're gonna wrap it up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Hopefully you enjoyed watching me bust my butt for no result whatsoever, but it's the reality of it. It is what it is. I could throw this video in the trash and not show you guys a bit of it, but I'm not gonna do that, because this is what happens sometimes. So this is what you guys are gonna get to see. It's called reality. But I'm gonna wrap it up. It's late. I'm gonna head inside, see the family and kids, and head out. Catch you guys on the next one.